G'day humans, Chris Stead from Fortnite here. We're talking NFT games today. The topic is Big Time. And this is an online co-op RPG experience which made a big blip on my radar for 3 reasons. First, there's already some really solid looking gameplay footage available. Second, the developer is seriously legit. And third, the play to earn NFT game experience on it is like added value. It's like on top of the layer of solid gameplay. So let's dive in and take a look at Big Time. So first, quick word on the developer. Usually when I'm covering a lot of these NFT games, a bit of research into the developer sends me nowhere. I can't really find anything. It's not the case here. So Big Time is developed by, drumroll please, Big Time Studios, which may seem a bit generic, but it's actually a pretty rad name for a developer if you ask me. Now, the guy who founded this is the ex-CEO of Decentraland. So that's one of the OGs in the blockchain gaming space. So there's some credibility right there, but he's formed around him a real crack squad of developers. And I've gone through all of their LinkedIn profiles, and these guys have like legit experience, like decades of experience dealing with AAA games, deploying big name games. They work for places like Infinity Ward and Blizzard and Treyarch, Neversoft, Epic Games. So these guys have got some serious runs on the board, and that holds a lot of credibility in my book in an environment where a lot of people can be fishing for money to get the money to build the game. These guys are game developers here who are working in the space to create an NFT game. So that's completely different story and a big tick for Big Time. As mentioned, gameplay footage has already been released for this game, and examining it, the title that first popped to mind was Destiny. Although there's no guns in this game, it's more about melee combat and some sort of magic element as well. However, it doesn't have a Destiny-like appearance. It kind of looks a bit more like a No Man's Sky meets Fortnite meets Skylanders, something like that. Now, there's a big hub world. There's a place called Epoch City, which seems to be the main hub where players might just wander around and do their thing. And that does seem to include some sort of outside the city environment. I don't want to say rural. It looks like you're on some sort of No Man's Sky style planet. But that appears to exist outside of the main instant dungeon. So in this overworld, you will meet other players, you'll team up into a group of 6 eventually, and at that point you'll go through a portal or a time machine into a instance, a dungeon, which then you play through, killing bad dudes, looting them, earning some tokens, and eventually get to the big boss. If you can defeat the big boss, it's going to drop a nice big rare fat NFT for you. So that's kind of a top level look at what the gameplay appears to be based on the footage I've seen so far. So as well as looting the bad dudes, getting tokens, earning this thing called space, which I'll go into a bit later, you're also leveling up. Now, Big Time has this really interesting class structure. So there are 4 different player classes that a character can have, and they've got really strange names, so I can't even remember them, so I'm not even going to try. But they're kind of typical, you know, you've got your tank, you've got your magic, range, that type of thing. As well as you can level these up independently of each other with the same single character. So you don't have to have 4 characters and have them leveling up in each of the 4 classes. You can actually have one character and level up each of the 4 classes independently of each other, depending on how you play and trying to work out what fits your play style and how you experiment and have fun. So that's a really, really interesting approach. I quite like it. And it will be obviously very key to how you form your squad of 6 players before you go into some of these dungeons, about how you balance out those classes and who's leveled up a certain amount in certain classes and how you use that as part of your tactics. So it's going to be a really interesting layer to the gameplay. Now, there is a story. It's a little bit convoluted, but I'll try to explain what I can understand of it so far. So in the metagame, there is this big bad that's causing kind of time to collapse in on itself, and it's bringing all these different timelines from history and kind of fusing them and mashing them together in certain ways. And these timelines actually relate to real historical figures. So far, some of the names dropped include Genghis Khan, Albert Einstein, Billy the Kid, Joan of Arc. So these type of figures, and when you go into a dungeon, that dungeon will be kind of associated with a certain timeline. And indeed, if you beat the big boss, the NFT that you get at the end, some sort of cosmetic for your character, will actually be tied into that timeline in some way or form. And I believe from what I've read that you won't be able to access all of these timelines straight from the get-go. It's kind of part of the progression tree to get you access to more of these timelines, but how that then ties back into the whole meta story that's going on here, and ultimately how all the players engaging in this game will collectively fight back against this big bad and reassert the correct timeline, and that remains to be seen. But that is the kind of story behind it, and definitely time plays a big role in a lot of the aspects of this game. So to date, Big Time Studios has been reasonably vague about the token that's been used in this game. In fact, if the actual in-game token that you earn from going through the dungeons hasn't actually received a name at the time of me talking to you now. But there is a NFT called Space, which is effectively what land is in other games. In this game, it's called Space. It's actually a really good name for what they're doing with it. But the idea is that you own this space, this NFT space, and this space actually exists as a literal space that has a time machine in the middle of it that you can use so that other players in the game, people that you meet, can come into your space and in there check out some of your achievements and look around at the various NFTs that you've collected, because the majority of the NFT in these games are actually cosmetics, kind of like your Fortnite skins, that type of thing. So this is what the kind of concept of the space is. Now the space comes in 5 different rarities, I think it is, and 3 different sizes. Now the sizes matter because the more size you have, the more slots that are available that you can fill with things that tie into the gameplay. So this includes timekeepers, which they haven't really explained yet, something to do with an hourglass mechanic. I think this could be part of the leveling up process through the actual timelines, but they haven't actually specified that yet. And also a forge. Now forge can be used to upgrade your weapons and your equipment, right, that you can get. So these forges and these timekeepers, and I'm assuming other aspects that you'll be able to bring into this space, which are NFTs themselves, fill up these slots. So the more slots you have, the more of those you can add in, which not only allows you to go in and do things like upgrade your weapon, but also the more of these slots you have filled, the more it amplifies the amount of tokens you earn when you then go through the dungeons. So this is what I understand of how the mechanic works at the moment. It's interesting because the way that Big Time Studios have talked about NFTs is that they don't want it to be a play to win scenario, which I'm totally for. I completely love that mentality. And it's going to be this idea that the NFTs that you earn are all going to be that cosmetics, because this big kind of quasi MMO experience, multiplayer online co-op game. So the way that you look, like Fortnite, it's a big deal to people. So the idea is you earn NFTs, which then you dress your character in, or items and make them all flashy and that type of thing, right? However, the fact that you can then have this forge that will upgrade those weapons and make them more powerful maybe crosses that line a little bit. I'm not sure I'd say it's play to win, but it definitely sounds like it's play to get further quicker, or pay to get further quicker, sorry. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out, but that's the basic concept of what they're doing with the idea of a space, and on face value, I think it's pretty cool. So it probably says something about the fact that developers come from the traditional gaming space, not from the mobile space, for example, where monetization strategies are a bit more aggressive. But plugging into that same concept of having NFTs being more cosmetic and not specifically tied to gameplay enhancement, the developer also has a really robust free-to-play experience. Now, it's saying that it wants to be truly free-to-play and that you will be able to jump into this game and play the entire experience more or less and grind away and earn space and earn NFTs and earn tokens just from playing the game. So that's cool. And I hope that they actually carry through with that all the way through to what they're saying on face value. Obviously, you can invest in NFTs on the marketplace, not just earn them to bring it forward quicker. You can obviously buy bigger space and do more things with it. All that stuff's available there as an added layer, as added value. But they're saying that you won't be blocked off from that stuff necessarily if you just play the game. So that's not only good from the perspective of just being able to jump in and have fun, but also means that play-to-earn gamers and potentially guilds can quite easily get involved as well, which is just good for the overall economy and good for the overall exposure of this Big Time game. Big Time is currently in alpha, and the early gameplay footage I've seen so far is looking really, really good. Look, it's still a long way from being the polished, finished product, but it's a lot further along than a lot of the games we see in this space. I'm actually really excited about this title. There's still a fair bit to learn about the token and also the way the story pans out. But so far it's shaping up to be an experience which is gameplay first, and then it has this play to earn NFT aspect laid on top for those who want it, those who want to invest. And that's the way that I think that games should be done in this space. Gameplay first, every time. I'm Chris Stead from Fortnite. Thank you very much for watching. That's what I think of Big Time. I'll be watching this game all the way through, so I expect to see some more videos on it. I'll see if I can score an interview with the guys as well. Until next time, happy gaming. See you later. No worries.